Hi, family. Welcome back to my channel. We talk about all things to heal, grow, and evolve. In this video, I'm going to talk about the story of Olokun from the Edo perspective. There's a lot of videos and information out there regarding Olokun with the Yoruba, with the Ifa, with the Orishas perspective, but I want to do one regarding the Edo perspective because I haven't really seen that. I've seen a few videos, but there's not really a lot of information on YouTube or online, or just in general about how Olokun represents to the Edo people and what it represents. It's very similar, but there's a few differences, and I want to talk about that in this video. So if you're ready, just keep on watching. Just a disclaimer, I am not initiated into Ifa. I just like learn about African history, getting to know our roots, knowing our traditions, and I wanted to share this information that I found, and I wanted to share that out and inform y'all about the things that I found regarding Olokun from the Edo perspective. So it may not be the exact same thing with people who are familiar with Ifa, people who are familiar with Olokun. It may be a little bit different because you're learning that from the Yoruba tradition, from the Yoruba perspective. And I wanted to give also a story about Olokun from the Edo people. For Olokun's colors, it's blue and beige. So the blue represents the waters because Olokun is known as the ruler, the owner of the waters. So that's where the blue comes from. And the beige represents the sand. So that also represents the boundary between the sea and the land. And that, to me, that represents duality in a sense. So Olokun is both a feminine and a masculine energy. So there is some debate whether or not you should refer to Olokun as he or she. But in this story, I will refer to Olokun as he. So Olokun's very androgynous energy. So it has both feminine and masculine properties. And that is because Olokun is referred to as the mother of all beings and living things. So the earth goddess. But in Edo tradition, Olokun is also known as the spiritual father of the Benin kingdom. It's believed that every Oba, so every king, is a reincarnate of Olokun. And so that's why they refer to the Obas as the traditional ruler. So they're traditional rulers through their ancestral inheritance. So they call the first child of Olokun, the first child of the Obas, as divine kingship and legitimacy. So like I said earlier, Olokun represents the waters. Olokun, he is the ruler, the owner of the waters. And if you break Olokun's name up, Okun, which means ocean, and Olo, which means ruler. So if you put those two words together, Olokun means the ruler of the ocean. Talking about Olokun Shrine, there's a few things that you would see if you were to come across a shrine or for you to visit Olokun Shrine. The first thing you see are cowrie shells. Cowrie shells were once used as an exchange. Cowrie was once used as a means of currency. That's why it's a symbol of wealth. It comes from underneath the sea. That's the bottom of the ocean. That's where Olokun resides in. And it is implied that the divinity of the sea is the source of wealth. So that's why Olokun is also known as abundance. That's why it's also known as being prosperous and being wealthy, because of the waters. Water is very abundant. The sea is very vast. And because it's very abundant, they associate that with wealth. Another thing you would see is riverside chalk. This symbolizes purity and happiness. You would see miniature brass ladders. This represents an ascension and aspiration, because with ladders you're going up. So with these, this represents them ascending to higher levels of their life, ascending to higher dimensions. You would also see miniature canoa paddles. This represents having social mobility. You would also see mirrors and clay pots as well. So some offerings or some sacrifices you would see. You would see either a white cock, but this would go to Asanobwa, which is the supreme being, the supreme god. In Yoruba, you would refer to Asanobwa as Olodumare. You would have a white hen. You would give that to Olokun through Ombiemven. Olokun also accepts goats without any blemishes, coconuts, or broken pieces of china plates. Olokun represents fertility, represents abundance, it represents wealth. And when it comes to fertility, Olokun helps bring children into the world. The Edo people believe children are the source of wealth, children are a blessing, children are abundant. They believe that having wealth is equivalent to the same thing as having children. There's a few sayings about this regarding wealth and children have associated it, and then I'll put them on the screen. There's a common thing in Nigeria, not just with Edo people, but just Nigerians in general. There's a common thing how they say that the children must bear the parents should never bear the children, because that is not a good omen. It should always be the children bearing their parents, not the other way around. And so that's why they believe when a person dies, their spirit still stays on the earth for a certain amount of time to ensure that they're buried properly, to ensure that things are done correctly with their body. So they stay here on earth until that's completed, and they return back to the astral realm in the higher dimensions, back home with the previous ancestors. The Edo people believe that in order to have acceptance into the ancestor realm, it can only be possible through the correct funeral ceremony that must be performed by the children. That's why I believe children are very important, significant in people's lives. They represent abundance both in the physical, the wealth in the physical world, and also the wealth in the spiritual. So you moving forward to higher dimensions, afterlife. So Olokun also represents wealth. So they represent wealth and abundance because the ruler of all waters, like I said earlier, water is very vast. Water is all very abundant in nature because it originates from the sea. It represents prosperity. And to me, this also represents the waters of the womb in a woman. Since Olokun also helps with fertility, also works with women and bringing children into this world, I feel like there's a symbolism about the abundance in our womb, our sacral chakra, because it's a gateway to life. It's a portal. So there's a vast amount of abundance within women, within our wombs. And so with the waters of the womb, that helps children pass and be able to be born onto earth. So I feel like that's where the two connection go hand in hand. So that's how I believe Olokun is associated with both fertility and wealth. Olokun is also known as a transporter of life and death. So Olokun helps bring children into the world, and that helps souls pass after they pass. Olokun helps souls go back to their homeland, back home to the other side. I made a story about the origin of Edo traditions, the mythology, how Olokun and his brothers had to come here on earth through a boat, and that boat represents an energetic aura that was surrounding the earth. And so as Olokun came on this earth through a boat, he also helped souls be transported back to their homeland using a boat as well. There's a well-known quote: "No one lives without knowing Olokun except no one who ever spends any money." That is how Olokun is known as wealth. That is how he's known as fortune, prosperity, abundance. I'll list a few different versions of the stories. One of them is Olokun went to Osanobwa, the supreme being, and he asked for wealth to help his devotees. And once Osanobwa granted that request, he became so wealthy, he became so abundant in different areas of his life. And he became so abundant, he actually went to challenge Osanobwa, the supreme being, in a competition of wealth to see who has the most money, who has the most riches. And it's very ironic because his father, who created wealth and also gave Olokun this wealth that he was asking for, he was trying to be in a competition because he really believed that he was more wealthier than his own father, the one who gave him his riches, the one who created this abundance in his own life, which is very ironic. How do you challenge the source of your own wealth? How do you challenge the source of where you got all this abundance in the first place? Olokun also represents divinity of good luck. People work with Olokun also to help with court cases. So they go to Olokun priests to ask for help to get favor from the judge. So they get a lump of chalk, with the same white chalk you would see in his shrine. And then you would put that on your forehead before you appear to the judge. So you can kind of sweeten the judge and get the judge on your favor, for you to have more likeliness and more higher chances of having a court case win for your favor. Okay, so people who work with Olokun are also expected to have cleanliness in the home and outside in their apparel. Like, they want you to be clean. They want you to dress as certain attire. You're expected to have a clean home and a clean attire because Olokun represents purity. They wear white as a sign that they belong to this divinity of holiness. So they identify themselves with divinity. That's where that white comes in. So Olokun priestess are supposed to be the embodiment of purity and honesty. So that's why they're forbidden to wear dirty clothes or just keep their house in a mess, because that doesn't align with the properties, that doesn't align with the principles of Olokun, being divinity, being holiness, being wealth and abundance. Unless you're talking about abundance of dirt. No, that's not what Olokun represents. So that's why it's forbidden for them to wear dirty clothes or even to cook and eat until the house is swept and clean in the morning. Doing my research, I didn't really see a lot of information about Yemaya regarding Olokun and the Edo tribe. I know Yoruba, Yemaya and Olokun are very one and the same, very integrated. If you work with Olokun, you work with Yemaya. But I didn't really see that doing my research in Edo tradition. If anyone has more information about that, definitely let me know. It was more regarding Olokun and the Obas and how they are more one and the same as reincarnate, not really regarding Yemaya a lot. I don't really see much of that with the Edo people specifically. So yeah, that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any other ideas you want me to make, any other video topics, any other things you want me to discuss on this channel, let me know. Just send a comment and I will talk to y'all later. Until next time, bye y'all.